another video from Razorops. In this video we will try to see how we can connect EKS cluster to the Razorops dashboard. And I hope you have gone through our previous video of introduction to Razorops, and then yep, if you haven't, please go through that. Try to create account on Razorops and go to your dashboard. So first of all, if you want to create any CI/CD pipeline, so definitely you have to have either your on-prem system or the Kubernetes cluster to deploy your application. So here we are trying to connect Kubernetes cluster. So log into your Razorops dashboard, go to Kubernetes tab on your left side, and then in this tab you go to create new cluster page. So in this page we have two things to add to link our cluster with the Razorops dashboard. First is the name. This name will be your own name. You can pick any name, and then the authentication method. The name will be used throughout your CI/CD pipeline. So it will be used in your Razorops file as well inside your project when you try to create the pipeline. Okay, the next thing is like authentication method. So we have couple of authentication method here. So these varies based on which service provider you are having for the Kubernetes clusters. Some provide a config file very easily, some provide username and password, some provide cluster API token, and some the SSL certificate. So so this is to take care of like majority of the stakeholders in this domain. So for EKS, we'll be using a KubeConfig file, and once you select this method, it will ask you to copy paste your KubeConfig file, and once you do that, you create your cluster. Now our task becomes that how to get this KubeConfig file for EKS cluster. So to do that, so we need to understand few basic points here, that why we are doing this. We are doing this because we want to create our CI/CD pipeline, and why do we need CI/CD pipeline? Because we want to automate deployment of our applications, right? And now your application will be deployed on this cluster and generally applications or any deployments that you do, that happens through the service account on the cluster. So now this service account should be responsible to get the config file. So basically that should be linked with the config file. And then that service account should have a couple of roles which will do task on our behalf when we run any command on the cluster. So that service account should have roles like it can do modification or any verbs on deployments, jobs, cron jobs, services, resources, etc. Before further ado, I'll go to uh, this Git repositories, which it provides like all the XAML files which you need basically to create service account, role, and binding this service account and role together. What and how does this YAML look like? We can go to this file inside it, and we can see this is very simple file, and we have defined the name Razorops, the resources service account, and then uh, the namespace is default. If you want to have a different namespace, you better create your namespace, and throughout the CI/CD pipelines, wherever you need to write some scripts, please do mention the same namespace. Okay, and then this is our role. So we have defined a role where we have given the resources. These are the resources which we are giving permissions, which we will be giving permission to this role basically, and then these are the actions which can be performed on these resources under this role. So this is our role, this is our service account name. Okay, the next task becomes is how to bind this service account to this role, and that will be easy. Another one set of script which will be saying okay, role binding, which will say subject and the role reference. So this is how we will be binding this script, this service account with the role. So now what we need to do is basically we need to run these files on our Kubernetes cluster. So to create service account, then role, then we will be binding this role with the service account. Later on, once that service account is done, so we will go to this script, we will have download this script, and then we will run this script like this. Okay, so we will give parameters as namespace and the service account name. What it will do, it will create the file, config file, into KubeConfig file in your wherever you are running the script. Once that is done, we will use that config file to link this cluster with our Razorops. So that is pretty much it. Now let's quickly go through all this process. Done. I'll say Razorops tutorial. I have Kubernetes file. I have XAML. So I have these scripts. So what do we need to run is service account. So this file we will be applying to Kubernetes kubectl uh, create give from file Razorops service account. It created now. Alright, so now what we'll do, we will try to create role. Now we will do the role binding. Cool, so we have created our service account, we have created our role, and we have bound both the service account and the role together. Now what do we need to do? We need to run that script. This one. How do we need to run the script? I'll say just script, and then what other things I need to provide here. So I need to provide namespace, and then I need to provide the service account name. So namespace is default and service account is Razorops, which we have created before. If we have any doubt, we can go and check it. Where is it? Anyway, this is our service account. So this is our service account, Razorops. So I have provided this, and let's see what it does. Good. So it has created the kubeconfig file. Now what I'll do, I'll copy this kubeconfig file content, and then I will paste into my Razorops form, and then I'll say create cluster. So let me just give Razorops test CL or cluster. Then I will not show you probably this. So after adding the kubeconfig file, so you'll land up to this page, and now your cluster is created. Basically, cluster is linked with the Razorops. That's all, guys. Thank you.